Qin Guimei, the youngest professor of physical materials science in the history of Ji University, once wore a book and ended up wearing a female canon fodder from an era novel called Dogblood Sweet Pet. The original owner Qin Guimei was a rural girl from a fishing village who was despised by people. She was always an outsider to her biological parents. In the end, he was sent to a mental hospital by his own relatives and did not receive any family affection until his death. In the end, he was depressed and passed away. Now, Qin Guimei has taken over the body of the original protagonist and decided to live a wonderful life of her own for the female protagonist. Chapter 1. Wearing Dogblood as a female supporting actress. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 2. First Day of Return. You are listening at novel full.audio. In the evening after the summer rain, the scenery in the Lin family's yard is particularly beautiful. The rain moistens the flowers and plants, making them full of vitality. Although the roses in the garden have just been watered by the rain, the flowers carrying the rain appear colorful and enchanting. The grape trellis under the corridor is filled with clusters of green and astringent grapes. One can imagine how sweet they will be when they mature. The only disharmony is in a corner of the yard, where vegetables such as tomatoes, cucumbers, chili peppers, and eggplants compete to grow. Their branches and leaves are lush, filled with delicious fruits, and have also become a scene in the Lin family's courtyard. The car squeaked and stopped at the entrance of the Lin family yard. Aunt Lee and the driver went to pick up the luggage behind the car, and Qin Guimei pushed open the open door and walked in. As soon as I entered the door, I was surrounded by the fragrance of flowers and fresh air after the rain. She had already vomited all the bitterness in her stomach, and in this moment, her dazed mind quickly became much clearer. There stood an elderly man with silver-white hair in the yard, dressed in a simple Zhongshan suit and leaning on a black cane. He had obviously been standing in the yard for a long time, and in the dim yellow sunset, there were still traces of his back being wet by the rain. He has a slightly hunched figure, but due to his early years on the battlefield, his whole body exudes a resolute temperament unique to soldiers. Upon hearing the sound of the car, he had already walked briskly towards the door from the courtyard. Just his left leg was clearly injured, and these 2 steps have made him stumble to the point of almost falling. Qin Guimei had not yet realized who this was, and her body had already taken 2 uncontrollable steps forward to welcome the old man. The old man's mouth curved instantly. Walking up to Qin Guimei, she finally saw the old man's eyes twinkling with stars, as if tears were slipping by. Upon closer inspection, but in a blink of an eye, there was a sharp light that seemed to penetrate the human heart. Wrinkles are deeply engraved on his face, showing the traces of time. Looking at such an elderly person and the real reaction of her body, Qin Guimei no longer knows who the elderly person is. Her years of reading are considered a waste. This is Lin Bowen, the biological grandfather of the original owner. Qin Guimei's heart is filled with indescribable emotions, but in the original book, she firmly upholds her own granddaughter and takes care of Qin Guimei's grandfather no matter what. Qin Guimei's heart hurt fiercely, filled with pain, guilt, and a faint sense of joy. This kind of emotion is clearly not owned by Qin Guimei, but the most authentic reaction of this body. This feeling made Qin Guimei noticeably momentarily stunned. Before Qin Guimei could bear to think too much, Grandpa Lin's question had already interrupted her. Is it my grandchild, is it Guimei? My child, I am Grandpa. Grandpa Lin looked at the dark girl in front of him. The girl was wearing a pair of plastic sandals, even her toes were sunburned, but her height was not too short, tied in a ponytail. After a long journey, my hair was messy and stuck to my scalp. My lips are dry and cracked, and upon closer inspection, I can still see an abnormal blush on my face. Her arms trembled slightly and her legs were a bit weak, but she still persisted in running towards herself. Grandpa. Qin Guimei's voice let out a dry and astringent sound. My child, it's good to come back, it's good to come back. Grandpa Lin heard Qin Guimei call him, thinking about his granddaughter who hasn't taken care of her since childhood, and about the hardships his child has suffered outside. His voice unconsciously added a touch of excitement. Upon hearing Grandpa Lin's words, Qin Guimei felt a bit emotionally conflicted for a moment. The strange reactions just now were probably reminders from the girl with the same body. Remind her to treat Grandpa Lin well in this life, to show filial piety to Grandpa Lin on her behalf, in order to make up for the debt owed to Grandpa in the previous life. Qin Guimei silently agreed to the original owner in her heart. I'm sorry for taking up your body. Don't worry, I understand your pain and unwillingness, and I will fulfill your wishes for you. Grandpa, let's go in and talk about it. You're tired too. I'm so hungry too. Qin Guimei coquettishly looked at Grandpa Lin without any psychological burden. Perhaps it was a natural blood relationship. Grandpa Lin's heart melted at the sight of it. All right. All right. All right. Grandpa Lin replied 3 times in a row, the baby is hungry, Grandpa will take you inside to eat. He held Qin Guimei's hand and walked into the room together. Senior leader, has my grandniece arrived home? Just then, a loud voice came from the nearby kitchen, followed by a tall and sturdy middle-aged man in his 50s poking his head out. Contrary to his muscular figure, he wore a pink apron around his neck and held a shovel in his right hand, clearly busy in the kitchen. He is taller than the average person, and as soon as he walked out of the kitchen, the restaurant seemed to immediately become much smaller. His face was masculine, with sharp edges. When he walked to the restaurant, his eyes lit up as he looked at Grandpa Lin and the dark girl next to him. This is my grandniece. Oh my. This. He glanced at Qin Guimei again and paused for a moment. Don't worry, she looks quite lively. Qin Guimei couldn't help but roll her eyes in her heart. She knew how disheveled she looked now, with dark and wrinkled skin, a tired face covered in dust, and dirty clothes. The uncle was able to say this sentence, which obviously gave him enough face, and he was uncertain about the child. Why does this child look so shabby? Stinky kid, get out of here. Don't burn the food and starve my grandson again. I'm already someone who's about to hug my grandson, and I'm still being impolite in front of your older brother and me. Grandpa Lin said as he tried to hit him with his cane. The middle-aged man couldn't avoid it, and even had a hint of enjoyment on his face. Number 34, brother, I said my own brother, how can I complain about your brother in front of my nieces and granddaughters when I first met him? He turned around and ran quickly for a few more steps, then turned back to Qin Guimei and said, Grandniece, I can't starve you. I'll tell you to try my craft today. I promise to have dinner right away. Qin Guimei exclaimed, good guy, this emotional uncle is actually Grandpa Lin's biological son. But just now he called Grandpa brother, who is he then? Is it really Grandpa Lin's younger brother? But Grandpa Lin doesn't have any brothers and sisters in the original book. So did you miss any important figures while reading? Chapter 3. Grandpa and his person. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 4. Promise to go to the East City. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 5. My Idol. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 6. Diverse Thoughts. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 7. G Family. You are listening at novel full.audio. Ji Tong took Lin's father and Lin Shuyan back to his mother's house, citing that his family was going to celebrate Lin Shuyan's award. Although Mr. Lin has some grudges in his heart, he really doesn't want his son to be difficult. In fact, this matter is about Ji Tong giving Qin Guimei a commanding hand. Who made the child so unintelligent when they went to the fishing village to pick him up last time? After all, they were not raised by themselves and cannot get close to each other. She didn't ask anything and went to bed after eating. The old man also went to bed early, but today we had a comrade in arms who had come to our house before. I heard the old man call him Xiao Zong. Aunt Li reported the situation at home proficiently. What is he doing here? Ji Tong raised an eyebrow and asked. It seems that something happened in the factory and I came to the capital to ask for help. The old man asked the child to help him with chores tomorrow. He said he would let the child go to the East City to have a wedding banquet with her in a few days. Aunt Li whispered, holding the microphone in her hand. Oh, a wedding banquet. Why did she join in the fun? In fact, Mr. Lin had mentioned this to his daughter-in-law and was planning to let the family go together, but Ji Tong refused at the time. Lin Huachang has just been transferred back to Beijing without much vacation, and Lin Xuyan has just received a notice that she will also attend the painting summer camp training in a few days. There is no spare time to go to Dongcheng. Never mind, you don't have to worry about this matter. It's also good to avoid encountering her bad luck when you go back. Ji Tong casually grabbed a handful of melon seeds from the plate and said. At this moment, a black Santana stopped at the entrance of Ji's house, followed by a serious and strong man in his 50s. He was a middle-aged man wearing a gray short-sleeved shirt, black pants, and a belt. Upon closer inspection, Ji Tong still had some resemblance, but his eyebrows and eyes were even more firm. Behind the middle-aged man was a tall man in his 40s, wearing a long-sleeved shirt, a briefcase under his armpits, glasses, and a touch of elegance. At this moment, he lowered his head and couldn't see the expression on his face clearly. Big brother, you have finally come back, and Huachang has also come back. Ha! What's going on? Did something happen? Ji Tong quickly hung up the phone and stood up from the sofa. Just as he saw his big brother and husband entering the door with a serious expression, he quickly asked without hesitation. The middle-aged man walking ahead is Ji Aimin, the older brother of Ji Tong, who became the director of the Provincial Department of Machinery before the age of 50. He comes from a military career and has led troops before. He has a decisive demeanor, and when he wears a stern face, he looks very serious. The man walking behind is Lin Huachang, Ji Tong's husband. As one of the first batch of college students to return to the city after the resumption of the college entrance examination, he has the refined temperament of an intellectual. He only recently became the director of the safety department of the machinery department, which was not a credit from Mr. Lin. On the contrary, this time he was able to transfer directly from the machinery department of Haiqing City to the provincial machinery department with the help of his uncle. Ji Aimin saw his younger sister approaching, and he slightly put away his serious expression on his face, nodding at her. Everyone was returning to the room with different expressions when a pretty girl ran down the stairs and cheered affectionately, "Uncle, you're back. Yenner misses you so much." Ji Aimin was busy with affairs and often didn't come back for 2 or 3 days. This girl is wearing a delicate pink lace dress, lively and cute. Compared to her mother, her appearance can only be considered delicate, but after all, she is young and can't help but feel happy when she smiles. She walked over and playfully grabbed Ji Aimin's arm, saying, "Uncle, Grandma said we'll have roast duck tonight, and everyone's waiting for you to come back." Ji Aimin showed a rare smile and tapped her niece Lin Xuyan's nose with her finger. "You little mischievous, I see you're waiting to eat roast duck, aren't you waiting for your uncle to come back?" Ji Aimin has 2 sons. The eldest son has been working at Jingcheng Heavy Industry since graduating from university. The youngest son was admitted to the Department of Engineering Machinery at Jingcheng University 3 years ago and has been squatting in the laboratory for the past 2 days, unable to return. Ji Aimin's temper followed that of his deceased father, Mr. Ji, who had previously served as the commander of the Beijing military region and had a rather irritable temper. Qimei's education for his children is also simple and rough. If he makes a mistake, he will scold him in full, and sometimes he may even be unable to escape a beating. But perhaps because she doesn't have a daughter at home, Qimei is extremely patient with this niece. Lin Huachang handed the shirt and tie to Ji Tong and impatiently shaved his hair. Ji Tong looked at her husband's handsome profile in middle age and quickly handed him a glass of water, asking after him, "What's wrong with this? I just went to work in the hall for a few days now." Lin Huachang took the water glass and took a few gulps, saying, "Don't mention it. I just took office a few days ago, and a batch of domestic cranes we exported to Africa malfunctioned. Africa hopes that we can provide a solution as soon as possible." He took 2 more sips of water, but because he drank too quickly. Choking himself, he put down his cup, cough cough, cough cough cough. "This batch of domestically produced cranes is our recent key export project, and it has always been led by our big brother. We discussed all day at the meeting today, and I didn't even take a sip of water at this moment." Qimei waved his hand and interrupted Lin Huachang's words, "All right, don't bring work issues to discuss at home. Ji Tong, we are all going on business trips this time, so you can help us prepare with Yuhua later." Qimei had been in a high position for a long time, with an extraordinary dignity on his body, and Ji Tong quickly nodded in agreement. "All right, the world is big and eating is a big deal. Let's go eat, and when we wait, Xueyan will be hungry." Qimei looked at his niece next to him with a bewildered expression, waved his hand, and his face noticeably softened. "Mom, look, my uncle is teasing me again." Lin Xueyan playfully stomped her feet at her mother and ran towards the restaurant. "Grandma, Aunt. Uncle and Dad are back. Let's have dinner. Gu Mama and Gu Mama. We can serve now." Lin Xueyan ran and called out coquettishly to the restaurant. "You're so unruly, big girl." Lin Huachang looked at his daughter's back and smiled helplessly at his wife. "She's been happy these past few days. You don't know how hard she worked. She just won the gold medal in international painting a few days ago." Ji Tong looked proud. Qimei then asked his younger sister Ji Tong very seriously, "Xueyan is really great. By the way, isn't that child coming these 2 days? When are you planning to take Xueyan back?" Ji Tong's face changed instantly and he said, "Brother, you know, Xueyan got news a while ago and was so shocked that she fainted. She's been better these past 2 days." She glanced at her daughter with a hint of heartache and said, "Xueyan is the child I raised since childhood. As soon as that child comes back, there is already a lot of buzz in the courtyard, and everyone is waiting to see my joke." She glanced at her older brother and threw the melon seeds in her hand into the plate with hatred. "Who are you laughing at? I see who dares to joke." Ji Mu looked at the siblings who walked into the restaurant. "Mom, it's not big brother yet. Xueyan is so amazing that he doesn't know how to praise her, but only cares about that child." Ji Tong pretended to be angry. "It's too late, let's eat first." Yuhua specially queued up on her way to work to buy Boxiangzai's roast duck. Everyone sat down and tasted it. Ji Mu pulled her own little daughter to her side. Everyone also took their seats, and the nanny Gu Ma and Ji Tong's sister Law Zhu Yuhua set today's dinner on the table. Today's dinner was very sumptuous. There are authentic Beijing roast duck, red braised pork belly, fish-flavored shredded meat, braised chicken feet, and various seasonal vegetables, all of which make people salivate. Chapter 8. Couple Night Talk. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 9. These Money for You. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 10. Jingcheng Heavy Industry. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text.